Saturday, the 30th, the second to last day of the year. And I am actually just back from a Saturday brunch where I had pancakes. Vegan pancakes, of course. All pancakes should be vegan. There's no reason for them not to be. But surprisingly, they're not. Um, went to our favorite vegan restaurant, Sunday brunch, as well as going out to eat at least maybe once a week, sometimes more, supporting local business, especially one that you believe in, one that has a commitment to being kind to animals um, and environmentally conscious. As a matter of fact, the little shopping center that we went to is called Conscious Corner. The name of the restaurant is Great Sage. To give them a little bit of a plug. If you're ever in the Baltimore area, look it up. However, this was my first time going to brunch since the shutdown due to COVID. So we're talking 3 years, plus 3 years, that sorry, my cat is here saying hi to me. Shutdown ended a lot of things for me. I had to. I lost my business due to the shutdown, such as it was. It was a small business to begin with. Just a little training business, kettlebell focused. And I train people from home, or I would go to their homes. And great thing about kettlebells, I couldn't safely bring them into my home or go to someone else's home and risk being exposed to COVID and bringing it home to my father, who at the time being 90, it would not have been safe for him whatsoever. And then, of course, congestive heart failure just seemed to floor him out of nowhere in a very short time. At the age of 93, he passed away. So between the shutdown and then caring for my father and then my father's death, I became very reclusive. I've never been all that outgoing, at least in my sober days. My drinking days, it was a little bit of a different story. But when I quit drinking, I had less of a need to get out to be social, although, I could be dragged out for certain occasions. Then my divorce, some other issues, and more so, I just felt called to be quiet, to keep to myself, to spend more time meditating, practicing yoga, writing, meditating some more. And that seemed to be enough for me. Then my wife and I my ex-wife and I at the time, carried on our tradition of Sunday brunch. Even after our divorce, it was connection that we had. That and racing, training together, doing races, running, among some other things. But with the end of COVID, or with COVID, ended all of that. So this was my first time out, really. Except for an occasional trip to the bookstore, which is a necessity, and the grocery store. Less of a necessity, as I can get things ordered. Still, I have some social connections in the supermarket, as well as the bookstore, although they've gotten less since I've gone to the bookstore less. It used to be a daily occasion. Go to the bookstore, get coffee, sit in the cafe. Something about books and a cafe together. As a matter of fact, I wrote my first book sitting in that very same bookstore, cafe. So, I guess the point is change. Everything changes. COVID brought about those great changes for me, and maybe things are opening up finally for me as well. Things are changing a bit. Not that I will step out into the world and be a more social creature. I really think those days are much behind me. Um, I'm happier in my own company. Not that I don't like being around people, just happier in my own company. It takes a while to accept that because it seems odd, especially maybe in this day and age. Um, so you're never quite yourself. You think you have to do things to fit in, to belong, to be part of everyday society. Through the years, I've come to realize that you don't. You have one obligation, only one, that I figured out so far. Be true to yourself, to who you are. Doesn't necessarily mean not doing something different from time to time. This was an occasion that Milka had completed her first semester, going back to school, American Sign Language, and it was something she had her own doubts about, and she persevered, and she did very well. So it was an occasion to celebrate, and it was a worthy occasion to celebrate. So definitely step outside of that comfort zone. Do things that challenge you personally, even when it seems so small, stepping out of that comfort zone. But at the same time, don't be afraid to be true to yourself. If you're someone who enjoys their own company, if you're someone who doesn't feel the need to fit into social norms, there's no reason why you have to. Make life your own, or do your best. And that hasn't been easy, and I'm not sure how it's going to work going forward. Um, some of the things like social media have made that easier. Um, our friend Paradox is here. Hey, how are you? I'm talking about something you might be interested in as well, and it's basically not feeling the need to fit into social norms, being true to yourself, being true to your essence. A lot of times we conform our personality towards the issues, towards life, towards all of that. And where does it get you in the end? Are you any happier? You shut off part of yourself. You shut off part of your creative essence just to get by, just to get along. And I did that for quite a long time, unsuccessfully, because it always showed. It always showed that I was not meant to be doing this or that. And then when you try to step out of that just a little bit, you're pushed back in line, not just by people or society, you push yourself back in line, which is even worse because you're being untrue to yourself. Paradox says, oh yes, mate, right up my street. Yeah, I thought as much. And you seem to be someone who has successfully stepped out and allowed yourself to be exactly who you are. Let's see. Paradox says, being from a predominantly white area back in the day in the mid 90s, it was all Britpop. All of my peers were dressing and acting like Liam Gallagher of Oasis or Ian Brown of Stone Roses. I was walking around in a bright yellow Ruwear fleece, uh, caught beatings over it and everything back then, but it never changed. It's admirable to have that courage to be yourself. Man, in a world that just wants you to confirm. That's it. And for why? Why do people celebrate the one person that breaks through while doing their best to keep everyone else in line. And then someone finally manages that, and all of a sudden they're celebrating, even though the same thing happened to them. Paradox. Even though they were beaten and ridiculed and whatever, but then they finally make it and everyone celebrates it, and at the same time they work so hard to keep everyone else in line. Never made sense to me. So again, social media has opened up all kinds of doors to break through, to put your stuff out there. I had a comment to one of my shorts where somebody's reply was, what the fuck, who is this guy? Why is he putting this stuff out there? Enough already. He needs to get off the internet. And I thought, you know what? He might have a point. But really, it takes just as little energy to support someone, to be kind to someone, and you feel better afterwards. When you think about that, think about how you feel when you tear someone down. It's not a great feeling, and it doesn't last. It's hollow and shallow. But when you've uplifted someone, you carry that with you all day long. You carry it with you all week long. And you tell other people about it. You're like, I feel so good. I helped this person. I lifted him up. That's what it's all about. Paradox says, and also being a short king, the struggle to not get pushed out of the dinner queue is real. I had to make that sure that it wasn't happening with me. Yeah, you gotta, you know what? If you don't stick up for yourself, maybe in the beginning, a few people might stick up for you, but in the end, it all comes down to you. Paradox says, yeah, I love the tapestry of humanity and how everyone is tailored in their own niche. So do I, and it's such a shame that people lose that or never realize it. Never fully embrace who they are. Paradox says, yes, you vibrate at lower frequencies and attach yourself to the person you have berated. Exactly. And again, it's so much better to work at uplifting someone, and it takes the same amount, if not less, energy. A kind word truly does go a long way. And so my creativity might not be the same creativity as someone else's, and it doesn't have to be. It only has to reflect me. That's it. And of course, some will appreciate it and some won't. That's how life works. That's how life seems to work. Put it out there. See what happens. Find your tribe. That's the important thing. Or better yet, the tribe will find you. Or better yet, even still maybe, you don't need a tribe. I think when you stand, not that we ever can stand apart, not that we should be away or separate from people. It's impossible to be separate from people anyway. But sometimes when you become part of that tribe, no matter what the tribe is, you're pulled into that conformity. Unwittingly, sometimes. Look how people vote. Generally, people belong to a political party because their parents belong to a political party and their parents before them. They give very little thought. This is who I am. This is what I believe. This is what I stand for. Even more so, they don't give any thought to why they have these opinions. Or they never question the fact that, hey, just because I have a thought, and just because I have repeated thoughts that have become a belief, is it true? Just because we think something doesn't mean it's true. Just because we think something doesn't even mean it has anything to do with us whatsoever. It's just a thought. It's a frequency. It's a vibration. It's a chemical reaction in the brain. It's not who you are. You're not your thoughts. You're the witness to the thought. That puts everything in a whole nother category. That means you're free. When you realize you're not those thoughts and beliefs, but you can entertain every single thought and belief, you're liberated. You're absolutely free to do exactly what you would like to do exactly what you would love to do. And then it's a game changer. Everything in the world changes because you're fearless. Doesn't mean you don't have fear, but it means you're not afraid to be afraid. Paradox says, yeah, man, it's all layers to the onion. Religion, politics, sports, soap operas. It is all tribalistic tendencies. The key to life is to get to the center of the onion, peel all those layers away. Man, that's perfectly said. Perfectly said. And that's true. And what do you get when you've peeled every single layer away? And I think Paradox has probably already left the answer. You peel everything away and you've reached absolute nothingness itself. And there you are, the essence. And nothingness is beautiful because it allows for everything to take place. We can think of nothingness as capacity. And the great thing with capacity, everything belongs. Everything fits. Everything fits. That's such a big statement because that means you don't have to worry about, is this going to fit in my life? Is this going to work? Is this not going to work? It all belongs. Every last bit. Everything fits into place. Where the endlessness of the infinite, how can something not fit in there? Paradox says, yes, nothingness even as a singularity, which is how the universe began. Singularity of immense energy, but a singularity of nothingness nonetheless. And from that nothingness, an entire universes sprang into existence in an instant. It always amazes me to think that there was absolutely no time or space. So we can't even rightly say what came before the Big Bang because there was no such thing as before. That's time-based, and there was no time. Absolutely amazing to consider. And then we think, the Sufis saying, and the Zen saying, what did your face look like before you were born? And it takes you, if you just ponder that for a second, it takes you immediately back to that nothingness. And again, nothingness itself is pure potentiality. So one song, says Paradox, exactly. And it was the Om, the vibration, resonance that formed all matter and shape and solidified the frequencies. And it's still nothing. That's the amazing thing. I love referring back to the Heart Sutra. Emptiness is form, form is emptiness. And the key word is. It doesn't say emptiness became form or that form reverts back to emptiness. Emptiness is form right now. Form is emptiness right now. Paradox says, was that the Big Bang? And yes, still nothing, the paradox of life. And that's the key to happiness. Accept the paradox. Left, right, male, female, up, down. They're really all the same, depending upon perspective. Expressions of one thing. As Paradox said, one song. They're just notes in one song. So for me, again, I started this by saying I was out of the house to go out to eat with Mocha, my ex-wife, present companion, um, for the first time in, I think it's been over 3 years now. And I have no desire to I have no desire to be a recluse. I have no desire to step out either. Perfectly content and happy, just doing me, moment to moment, whatever that calls for. Today called for a celebration of Mocha. We're out there celebrating. This afternoon calls for a quiet afternoon, being with myself and my wandering cat. Paradox says, here's one for you, Herrick. How about with mudra finger positions? I'm actually doing a yoga course right now that has quite a bit of information of mudras. And when I do my breath work after burpees, I introduce different mudras. It's actually, you know what? I don't know how that ever escaped me. Well, first, Paradox says when meditating, different mudras can produce different frequencies. Exactly, which is why it's so important to breath work when we're working with pranayama. But here's the thing that escaped me that you just brought up, Paradox, like the fingers on a fret of a guitar. How did that ever escape me? Because that's exactly also pranayama. We're working with the wind of our existence. We're working with air. It's like playing the flute. Man, that was a great insight. Changing the tones. Yeah, mudras are completely fascinating. Paradox says we are instruments of God. We're instruments of God, and we're the music as well. All one thing. Which just makes it so incredible. Which also, again, frees us, because everything that we're doing is a note played by the instrument of God. How can that be wrong? How can God ever be out of tune? How can the universe be ever out of tune? Now, we can feel out of tune. That's why you meditate, and that's why you use the mudras. That's why you do pranayama. That's why you do yoga, to get back in tune, to get back aligned with the universe. And being aligned with the universe means that we're allowing ourselves to be perfectly expressed again. And for most of our lives, and for most of us, we don't allow that to happen. We're afraid to be perfectly expressed because it means we're going to be different, and we're no longer part of the tribe. And as Paradox pointed out, tribalism, the only role of tribalism is to keep you part of the tribe. They don't want to celebrate you, not too much, because if they do, if you're celebrated, you've elevated yourself outside of the tribe, and their job is to pull you back in. So for me, as I mentioned before, I'm putting my money, not so much my money, I'm putting my energy into working on the YouTube channel, and I need very little to get by in life. I get that, and I'm perfectly content living again, an almost monk-like existence, except maybe going out once a month for pancakes with Mocha. And maybe someday racing again. I do think about getting back into ultra running. Not so much for the crowd, and it has gotten crowded over the past several years. It's gotten bigger. But I love getting back out on the trails, in the woods. So we'll see. All right, guys. That's going to be about it for today. A few things to take care of. Paradox, it was great talking to you. Man, you put out some great insights today. Perfect. Exactly what I needed to hear. And also inspiring. And I'm not surprised at all that it was the frequencies and the music that um, you brought up, because that is definitely your vibe for sure. That and the intensity of your workouts, definitely for sure. So, all right, guys, take care. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.